Alright, I don't have time to put together this meme, but basically what I'm thinking is, Bill, this is the 5th time you've brought Eumidian Hatchery for show and tell. That's the energy I'm bringing today. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and I am happy to announce that Smallpox has top-aided a Legacy challenge in the hands of one of our regular viewers, Michael Levine. And this is a black-white energy cat's Smallpox deck. We have seen the power of Eumidian Hatchery over the last week or so. It was very, very strong in the black-green Life from the Loam shell that we put together. But today's deck is going to do something very different with it. We are not all in around that card. It is just one of many things that our deck is capable of doing. And we have a ton of token production in this deck that makes us not care about losing a body to Smallpox. And in fact, in the case of Ajani specifically, losing a cat might end up giving you a planeswalker, which gives you more cats and potentially a pseudo-cataclysm effect as well. We get to do a lot of powerful things in this deck. If you look at the caliber of card in this deck, these are really good legacy cards, with the weakest cards in the deck probably being Cabal Therapy and Static Prison, but Static Prison is a generic catch-all answer in a way that Swords to Plowshares is not, so I understand wanting to try it out. The deck honestly seems really solid. I have a couple of changes in mind that I would make, but I am only going to change one of those, and I'm going to talk about it a lot. I don't think Stony Silence is the right card for this deck. If you take a look at the mana base here, you'll see that we have 4 Eumidian Hatcheries, 1 swamp, and 4 Wastelands that do not contribute white pips to casting Stony Silence. And I think in this current metagame, if you are playing a Null Rod effect, it has to come down on turn 2. And I don't want to look at the opening hands that have 2 of these lands and a Stony Silence and go, I have to mulligan this because I can't cast my critical card. So I am going to turn Stony Silences into Null Rods here. And the Null Rods also have one other upside, and that is that they are not exiled by New Ugin. By Ugin, Eye of the Storms. There we go. Because it exiles up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. So I think Null Rod has 2 very, very good things going for it. Stony Silence is often played in white decks instead of Null Rod because it's stickier. It tends to be harder to remove an enchantment than a Null Rod, but I think the consistency of casting it on turn 2 just matters in this hyper fast metagame where Grim Monoliths can just be off to the races pretty much immediately. There is one really cool piece of tech here, and that is Pegasus Stampede. Now, this does not look like a good card on the surface. It is just 2 mana for a 1/1 white Pegasus creature token with flying. That is not a legacy power level card. But it has buyback of sacrifice a land. Now, in case you're not familiar with buyback, you may sacrifice a land in addition to any other costs as you cast the spell. So let's imagine the world where we have 2 Eumidian Hatcheries. We cast Pegasus Stampede with buyback. We sacrifice the bigger one. We're going to get a Pegasus token and a bunch of tokens off of Eumidian Hatchery itself. The Pegasus Stampede then goes back to our hand, and either that turn or the following turn, we can then cast it again with buyback again and sacrifice our other Eumidian Hatchery. So this is maybe not something we want in game 1, but if we are expecting a long, drawn-out game and we just want to make sure that we have an extra way to sacrifice Eumidian Hatchery, that is an interesting piece of tech. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into some matches here. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. We've got MagicCon Atlanta right around the corner, about 2 weeks away from the time of this video going live. If you want to place your order in advance, you can do that. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order, and then you can pick it up on site, and it is super, super convenient, and you don't have to worry about whether or not your cards are going to make it to you in time. Okay, let's battle. Well, I was about to say that I have an amazing hand that probably has game against most things, and then my opponent began the... Oh, I'm not scared anymore. Okay, sure. And then my opponent opened up with Chancellor of the Annex, which is totally fine. I need to do my 3-turn plan here. I think it's pretty likely that I need to let a spell get countered here. Because turn 2, I either have Bam or Bam Bam. And I think that is... I think the tempo matters enough to just throw away a Thoughtseize. And I'm going to use my fetch land here over any other land so that if my opponent throws down an Archon of Emeria, I don't run into some situations where that fetch land costs me 2 turns worth of tempo, or I have to, like, get a basic land instead of the dual land that I actually want. Voice of Victory is fine. Ajani Cabal Therapy is a thing. I think it's pretty likely that there is a scarier creature than Voice of Victory coming. I don't think I'm going to use my swords immediately. I have multiple different life loss lands, unfortunately. I value having the extra white mana in play immediately. And do this. Make my cat. Ooh. Well, that's real good. It makes my Cabal Therapy noticeably worse. Sure. I don't think my opponent can attack here. I think I'm just going to swords that out of the way. Send in for 3. Well, sorry, send in for 0. Then I'm going to go ahead and do this. Keep one of these. Make a cat. Do this. How does this bottom ability read? It's been a minute. Chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. I think I will plus and grow these bodies to have that available to me. Opponent is at 20, has a bunch of cards available. Opponent's in the tank about something. Ooh. The initiative is being introduced into the game. And Basic Plains is being played out. Got it. I think I'm going to go ahead and cast a Cabal Therapy targeting you. See if anything happens in response here. It doesn't. I'm still just thinking about naming Swords to Plowshares. I think I'm still going to do that. Okay. So now I know what's over there. I think this just means cat, plus on cats, go to combat, send in 2 different 4-power creatures. Opponent goes to 12. I will take the initiative. I don't think it matters, I'll get a basic plains. And now I decide whether or not I would like to sacrifice a token to take this other 1 ring. I think I do. I could sacrifice an Ocelot Pride as well. These tokens attack in very well. I guess so does this Ocelot Pride. Alright. Cabal Therapy, target you, sacrifice 1 of these, take out the 1 ring, and pass the turn. Opponent's in a bad spot between trying to fight over this Planeswalker and fight over the initiative. The 1 ring is also just at 3 counters now, and with Ancient Tomb as the known land, that's kind of tough. We'll see where this is going. Okay, it is going at face, so I can't block here due to this triggered ability. Opponent has gone into Lost Well, so they are doing the Scry 2. They are not the beatdown here. So there's Cavern. And there's an Archon. I believe my opponent is very close to dead or dead. So if they block this Cat Warrior token, I deal them 6 immediately. If they don't block the Cat Warrior token, I deal them 3 immediately, and then I can put the counters on the Cat Warrior token before damage. Alternatively, I could Ajani minus and kill 1 of their creatures, and then use Bowmaster to finish off Archon, which also seems fine. Yeah, let's go ahead and minus and ultimate this. So this is presumably getting rid of Seasoned Dungeoneer. I think either way I play this, my opponent's 1 ring ends up killing them. Alright, there we go. Go to combat. Send in the cats. There we go. So I will go bam. Play Bowmasters. We'll put the damage on here for first strike purposes. Ooh, there is a Solitude there. Opponent says no to my Bowmasters. I'm going to take out the Archon. I will go to Forge. I will forge up the Cat Warrior token that does not have First Strike. I will hit my opponent for 6, and then the One Ring kills my opponent. And we get the concession there. That was a tough spot for my opponent. They take 6 less damage immediately if they get rid of the Cat Warrior token instead of the Orcish Bowmasters, but then they can't draw extra cards on their turn. I don't think I played that game particularly well. I think there was a tighter way to play that. But I am just getting warmed up. So, what removal options do I have? March is slow unless I hemorrhage cards. Null Rod is reasonable for the One Ring. And Static Prison is a catch-all answer. I don't think I'm interested in this stuff, although I guess I can think about this. I think I am more interested in interacting with stuff on the battlefield than in hand. I think I'm going to change Cabal Therapies into Null Rods. My Voice of Victory absolutely still matters for Solitude in particular. If I go down the Thoughtseizes, I can go bam, 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 which is fine. I don't think I like this hand. This hand has no real plan. It has removal, but it's temporary or expensive removal. I don't really like this hand either, but I might be keeping now. I'm going to get rid of the Chrome Mox. I don't think I can get rid of a card here to just throw out Bowmasters on turn 1. Chalice on 1, that's fine. It's good, but it is not game-ending here. I will just do this. And we're just going to hope to keep our opponent off of 3 and 4 drops. I don't get to Wasteland that, unfortunately. I will Shadowy Backstreet here. I'm not going to keep that Wasteland. I am looking for my own threats right now. Smallpox in particular might be kind of cool. Ooh, opponent just passes the turn. That means Orcish Bowmasters is on the table. I don't have anything to do with Eumidian Hatchery yet. I think I will just play a land and pass. There's an Ancient Tomb. There is a Seasoned Dungeoneer. This is going to get my opponent a basic plains, and I don't get to Static Prison that right now. The Seasoned Dungeoneer, that is. So end of turn, I can throw down a Bowmasters, so I could contest the initiative if I wanted to. Oh, buddy. I believe it is correct to ignore my Eumidian Hatchery. So I believe I go Wasteland, destroy Ancient Tomb, and then cast Smallpox. I will get rid of the card that is unplayable because of Chalice of the Void. I will sacrifice my Orc Army token. I will sacrifice a land. And then, as long as my opponent does not have Solitude, I will have the initiative ticking up, while my opponent presumably does not have any mana. I'll take a white source here. I've already made my land drop. There's the basic plains. But opponent does not have the mana that they otherwise might like. I think this is pretty close between Forge and Lost Well here. I think I am going to Forge and attempt to end this game. Alright, that's not good because of Chalice of the Void. Opponent is at 10. We've got a 2-turn clock here. Do I have another Surveil land in this mana base? I do not. I have one Shadowy Backstreet. I might still just fetch and remove a land from deck here, though. Okay, no. Take down that one handily. That could have gone worse with Chalice of the Void resolving here, though, honestly. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. This is a strange opening hand. I can play Ocelot Pride on turn 1 and then start trying to do Eumidian Hatchery stuff. I can wasteland my own lands. I can wasteland my opponent's lands. I am trying to decide whether or not like this is a keepable 6-card hand, ignoring Chrome Mox as something that's relevant. I don't know. I think I'm just in for a scrub here. And we'll see if we can do something with a fair Ocelot Pride. Windswept Heath? Tundra, potentially Breakfast, Prismatic Ending, sure. Now, hopefully, I obliterate some lands for a little while until I draw out of this. I can get Eumidian Hatchery ticking up starting turn 2. Oh, turn 3, I guess. Windswept Heath, sure. I'm gonna get this starting to tick up here. I think there is also merit in just playing out Wasteland so my opponent can't do a Surveil land at end of turn and then safely untap with it. But I'm not really sure that I need to do that if I am holding up Swords to Plowshares versus a presumed creature deck. Plus, if I let them get the Surveil land, that does turn on Wasteland as a target, whereas if I play Wasteland and pass, maybe my opponent has basics to get. No to Green Sun. Windswept Heath. There's a Nomads, I've got a Swords for that. Go ahead and do that immediately. Force of Will. Hate that. Tick up Hatchery. I'm currently debating whether or not I want to play around any sort of weird Spell Pierce type card. I don't think I do. I think I'm going to go Nadu here as my name. It is Nadu. Prismatic Ending and Misty Rainforest remain. In that case, let's cut my opponent off of white, and I've already attacked white mana, so that is a little harder to get in the future. And I could think about Wastelanding myself, although honestly, I am probably just going to take out that Hedge Maze and just try desperately to keep my opponent from casting the cards that they top deck. I will wait to do this in upkeep, actually. That way, if my opponent has a white Surveil land, I can keep them off of that. Okay, yeah. Goodbye, white mana. Cool. Notably, my opponent did keep a card on top. That is not white mana. Opponent does not attack, which is reasonable. I am going to continue ticking this up. The upside of having this at a higher number for if I draw a Smallpox is massive. I don't think I am playing around a daze here. Cool, we resolve. So now, I will Cabal Therapy, target you, sacrificing a cat, brainstorming in response, sure. So yes, I will use that ability. Now the subgame begins. If my opponent can't combo off immediately, that Prismatic Ending answering this is a big deal. If my opponent can combo off, then they have something like a land in hand, or a Nadu or Cephalid Illusionist on top of deck. I think I'm just going to name the Prismatic Ending. If it's in hand, cool. If it's not, whatever. It is still in hand. Which looks like a good thing on the surface, but it might not actually be a good thing. So I'll make a cat. I will Shadowy Backstreet. Say no to that land. And pass the turn. Let's see if we are dead to Cephalid Illusionist after wastelanding my opponent 3 times, making the discard twice, and casting a Swords to Plowshares. Not immediately. Ponder shuffles. There's Delighted Halfling. This is great. Now, I can take out a combo piece. I'm always playing this land, and I think I'm just going to 0 here and send in. This is still just horrifying, though. Like, I take out a combo piece, but that might mean that a Nadu slips into play. It is instead a cantrip. Would have been a hell of a moment for an Orcish Bowmasters. That is a fetch land. Alright, Halfling is not sending in. This is good. I think my life total doesn't matter that much. This is a lot of cats. So I think I am into Ya. Make cat. Plus on cats. Send in for 6. Opponent is at 8, presumably facing down lethal next turn. If my opponent's 2 cards are combo cards, I do die though. Windswept Heath still does have a white source to fetch. Alright, we win that one. Ugh. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of interaction. And I still was scared going into the last turn. That is very telling. This is a slow removal spell, but I think I just need more removal. I think I am going to largely ignore the graveyard. I might just sub a threat for Douthie Voidwalker, though. Think about some Static Prisons. I don't like Fairy Macabre here because Memory's Journey tends to mess with your ability to actually use this as a way to win. Possible the game gets long enough that I could think about Pegasus Stampede. Voice of Victory could be a weak link here. If I go down on that, this is 61. I am down 3 threats. That's maybe not the end of the world. Thing that's nice about Voice of Victory is its synergy with Cabal Therapy. I'm gonna go down one static prison. I don't know how many of them I can maintain, and I can't give the Nadu player their combo cards back. Alright, hand's not perfect, but hand very clearly has a plan. I would love to draw a Eumidian Hatchery here. The card would pop off so fucking hard. Going to deal an exceptional amount of damage to myself, though. That's gonna maybe make it worse. Alright, Thought sees you. Let's start making a plan. So, Brainstorm is potentially the scariest card there because it makes my Cabal Therapy worse. There's an argument for Force of Will instead, so my opponent can't force Smallpox. Yeah, that's tricky though. So there is the island. Opponent not just brainstorming immediately. I think I just keep my opponent from getting to 3 mana and do the ouchies. So this is going to start by putting me to 15. We do get the brainstorm in response. Is Smallpox gonna resolve? It does. I think I'm just gonna get rid of my March here. It's hard for me to use that for a decent X value here. So my opponent will have at least one of these cards in their hand on the next turn for the purposes of me casting this Cabal Therapy. They might not have both. Possible they have another Brainstorm. They were thinking about casting some spell. Well, what do you want me to do? Not cast Smallpox? 13. So my opponent may have, well, definitely has one of these. Could have both. I'm going to assume that the Nadu is still there for sure. I will get rid of a Caracas, and I think I'm going to get rid of my Silent Clearing. I have dealt 8 points of damage to myself. Okay, Nadu went away there. Hate that. Can't remove this immediately. I think I'm going to cast a Cabal Therapy, target my opponent, and just name Cephalid Illusionist to make sure I don't die to that next turn. Ooh. Alright. Ajani is food for Cabal Therapy. That's fine. My opponent can now play a new Nomads, attack me for 1. And I will go Ajani, make a cat, Cabal Therapy, target you, sacrifice a cat, say yes. We'll name Nadu here. I'm more afraid of Nadu than Teferi by a lot. Oh, yep, that's fine. Then I will 0 and make a cat. And then I will potentially just end up plussing this and getting rid of one of these nomads and then marching away the other. That land drop means that Green Sun is live. So Green Sun can just get a Delighted Halfling here. Opponent passes the turn. What am I trying to do? Am I trying to keep that Teferi from coming into play to bounce my token? Probably. Yeah, probably. So let's march that halfling out of there. I think I will go ahead and just plus. Not attacking. Sylvan Safekeeper is fine. That actually just makes me get an extra creature with this Ajani minus that I was intending on doing. So I will just take a land out of a deck so I don't draw a land there. Yeah, I am fine just treating this as destroy 2 creatures. And my opponent concedes there. Notably, I don't think this game is fucking over. I think I am like very close to losing. So if my opponent top decks a land, they go Teferi minus, bounce this token, attack Ajani for 1, I lose my Planeswalker, I have an empty board, and I have a Lotus Petal in hand, and they have a redraw with Teferi. I understand the concession there, but I do not think this was a guaranteed win for me. GG's. Oh, I gotta think about this for a second. So I go Chrome Mox, Imprint, Voice of Victory, cast Guide of Souls, Lotus Petal, Ocelot Pride, have a second Ocelot Pride afterwards. That's fine. I wish I could get rid of this Smallpox, as that's not going to be very castable. But this probably goes wild pretty quickly. That said, if my opponent does something like Force of Will into removal spell here, is a little scary. Since I don't have the land drop here, I think I can't gamble on keeping Voice of Victory and trying to combine that with Guide of Souls. So there's Guide, there's Lotus Petal, there's the cat. All this without a land drop. Who needs lands? And I make my friend get my bonus energy. Life is good. That is an Urza's Saga, which Smallpox would be great against, but I don't have black mana yet. And a key. And a pedal. So I want to do this pre-combat so that I get the extra energy for Guide of Souls. And let's just yield to all energy generating stuff as we're gonna go a little wild here. I'm gonna go ahead and send on in Guide of Souls trigger. I will say yes to, and I'm gonna just stack up the lifelink here. Have that fly through. Opponent takes a total of 5, and then I have double Ocelot Pride triggers. We're not to the City's Blessing yet, but we are surprisingly close. We are at 7 permanents. I get their next turn a decent portion of the time. Opponent's going into the tank here about something. They've got a map. Gives them Metalcraft, so they get 2 mana off the workshop. That is 3 mana for a Glaring Fleshraker. Okay, cool. I'm very afraid of next turn. I miss a ton of damage if I just swing in with Ocelot Pride. I miss 4 points of damage. I don't think I am willing to give up one of these 2 permanents. Really unfortunate I didn't hit that land drop. That's the difference between the City's Blessing and not. I think I will send in with the tokens. Opponent not willing to block. I think I demonstrated by that attack that I don't have anything cute. So then I will get my cats, and in turn my energy and life. I might die. Like, I know that I am at 33, but I fully just might die here. Opponent just floating the mana. Not tapping their Urza's Workshop for mana first. Oh, they don't have Metalcraft, I see. They sacrifice their Lotus Petal to power up Fleshraker. Candelabra. So that's... okay, now it'll net a little mana. The Workshop taps for 2, then my opponent can untap the Candle. That's 4 mana for Mystic Forge. This is scary. So my opponent did not use Candelabra immediately to untap. The Eldrazi spawn means I can still do it, though, which is happening. That is like the one card that I did not want my opponent to get, because that represents so much mana with Voltaic Key. So this is up to 3 mana, and do the untap. Then that's up to 5 mana, 6 including Lotus Petal. So much mana. So basically, mana is not a bottleneck, and Mystic Forge should help cards not be a bottleneck. Alright, they do need more mana. That's a Karn. That shuts off my only mana source. That is pretty bad. Also means that Paradox Engine could just happen. It is Ensnaring Bridge with 1 card remaining in hand. So I guess... what was that last card? Well... I guess my opponent doesn't really want to activate that, right? So I can't cast Voice of Victory here. My creatures can't attack. This is awful. Remember how I said I was afraid of dying going into that turn where my opponent had 3 permanents, I think? That was right. I think they had... no, there might have been like a 4th, because it was 2 lands, Glaring Fleshraker, and then I think a Voltaic Key or something like that. Karn minuses. Getting Lattice. So my hope from here is just fully that my opponent fucks up. Which I don't think should happen, but it could. So there's the Lattice. So my lands don't work anymore. I have a small army in play that can do devastating things if my opponent ends the turn with 1 card in hand. But again, that should not happen. Sure. Notably, yeah, in case you're confused about that interaction, all permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. So now the lands entering are also going to cause Tezzeret to trigger. Not something that comes up a lot. That is a decently big Kozilek's command. That is certainly the wrong target. So you don't want to target the one that can attack if you mess up. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You want to get rid of one of these smaller creatures there so that if you mess up and end the turn with a card in a hand, the smaller ones can't attack. I'm doing something with the 1 ring trigger on the stack for some reason. Oh, maybe they just thought they were in a different phase. Yeah, they did. 2020, because everything card counts as an artifact. That's very funny. Okay, so my opponent is going to make another Urza Saga token. You have Ensnaring Bridge in play, so that's not attacking. So I'm not sure what the Urza Saga tokens are accomplishing. I guess that it's technically points of damage at my face with Glaring Fleshraker, but I don't know, maybe the mana is just better spent going at face. You want to be cute, you can keep doing this. We'll take key, untap Candelabra. Why did my opponent just tutor? Oh, there it is. Mishra's Research Desk. You've got it. So we're going to get some untaps of artifacts. I'll give you relevant plays as they happen at this point. I think my opponent's got this one locked up. That is a nearly lethal Kozilek's command, I believe. I'm at 4 when that resolves. A new Glaring Fleshraker. Cool. And any spell from here will just be lethal. Alright, GG. I mean, we came out of the gates very, very quickly, but my opponent did something that was slightly more busted, and this is why we have a pile of null rods in the sideboard, honestly. I don't think I'm the most interested in this. I'm going to think about it. Like, it's very cute. Exiling Urza's Saga, for example, like getting keys and other stuff out of the way is real. These are cards that I can think about, and I think this is a time where I kind of think about what is coming out of the deck over everything else. I think Cabal Therapy comes out. I think it's pretty hard to hit here. My opponent just has so many different threats. It's not like stopping one specific one just takes over the game. Then Voice of Victory is probably a weak link. It hits hard, and that's kind of for the most part, what it does. There's not too many spells my opponent is going to cast during my turn. It's mostly Kozilek's command. And this is where we start getting into, do I want to Static Prison to exile rings? Do I want Deafening Silence to stop my opponent from playing multiple spells? I think on the play, I'm going to do Deafening Silence. And on the draw, I might do a couple of these cards. Yeah, this is totally fine. So land. Thoughtseize you. We're going to attempt to punch a hole here. I could take the one payoff card, or I could just take Grim Monolith so that my opponent can never top deck Ancient Tomb and just have Grim Monolith in play. I think I'm interested in that. Then I think I'm going to play Guide of Souls here with the intention of wastelanding my opponent next turn, give myself a chance to potentially top deck something like an Ocelot Pride and do something really busted. Sometimes I end up smallpoxing away my own Guide of Souls, and that is just the reality of the situation. Okay, cool. So, Wasteland, Planar Nexus, throw out Deafening Silence, get in for a little bit of damage. Could still use some help from the top of the deck here. New Planar Nexus played out. Alright. So this Guide of Souls not doing its job. Opponent's at 18. I think this is a very awkward time where I probably lose the game if I don't do this. But I think this Smallpox is actually considerably worse for me than for my opponent. I am losing a creature here. I did not top deck something like a Bowmasters or an Ajani or an Ocelot Pride that I would have potentially played over Smallpox. And maybe I got greedy in playing Guide of Souls. We'll see. Thoughtseize is medium. Static Prison doesn't matter. Both of these are incredible. I think I'm more afraid of Karn, but it's pretty close. So a lot of this game, I think, is going to come down to, does my opponent top deck mana before I do? Okay, I mean, that's not bad. This next turn is a really big draw for my opponent. If they just hit another land, I can't attack in safely with Ocelot Pride. Nice, they didn't. That's so big for me. Because now I get to swing in and start making my cats. And then this is increasing damage. My opponent can turn Urza Saga into an Expedition map or a Lotus Petal or something here. Lotus Petal could potentially answer Ocelot Pride for a little while via Static Prison. But an Expedition map for a Planar Nexus feels kind of obvious. Yeah. Oh, I assume this is just a very fast Planar Nexus. Yep. My Ocelot Pride is not safe for long. That's a good pickup. That at least is going to give me a little bit of value on the way out. So my opponent is going to take 2 damage, and then end of turn, I gained life, so I will do the Ocelot Pride thing and get a little bit with Guide of Souls. But Mystic Forge is coming, and I have not hit something like a Null Rod to try to shut down at least some of my opponent's stuff. The Deafening Silence is good against Mystic Forge. Oh, fuck, it's the One Ring instead. Okay, I mean, that's very bad. My opponent fogs for a turn. I can't do anything with that. So I am passing here. Opponent is at 13. They get one spell, but Static Prison is a thing. Blaring Fleshraker. So notably, Deafening Silence is one non-creature spell, so my opponent can cast another spell here. Oh, I don't know if they know that. Cool. So, Eumidian Hatchery. Play Ajani. There is some chance that my opponent has a Kozilek's Command in hand. And if they do, while this is on the stack, it's probably the time to cast it. Alright, that is on the Guide of Souls. I'll lose a little more there. Ajani enters. I will make a cat. I believe I am going to Punchies and sending the crew in. Yeah. This is fine. I'm trying to transform my Planeswalker here. My opponent goes to 9. I will say yes, and I believe that I just plus so that I can minus the following turn. Cats get big. My opponent is at 7. They currently get one spell, but again, they have Static Prison. So, I don't like my odds. There is the Static Prison, taking out the Deafening Silence. My opponent has a bunch of Eldrazi spawns, so I don't even know that that Ancient Tomb will need to be tapped. Tezzeret Cruel Captain. That is a lot of bonus mana. Untaps Monolith. There's the Mystic Forge. I think I need to hit my opponent having a couple lands on top of their deck in a row. Urza's Tower is not great for me. Second Glaring Fleshraker is incredibly bad. Lotus Petal is more damage. That's another Tezzeret, which can untap a Mystic Forge or a Grim Monolith. Goes for Grim Monolith. Alright, another spell gets me. Oh no, that one gets me. Forgot. Alright, that is pretty disappointing. We stumbled over our mana a little bit and lost accordingly. GG's. Okay, my opening hand is maybe not ideal, but I would call it solid. We can come out of the gates pretty quickly with some cat-based damage, and we've got Orcish Bowmasters for if we see something like the One Ring on the other side of the battlefield. So Ajani adds 3 damage to the board and potentially becomes a Planeswalker the following turn. That is probably better than what Voice of Victory is offering. Get in there. And we'll make our token Ancient Tomb. Ajani, Legend Rule, plus. Seems kind of sweet, honestly. It is blue. Sure. Beginning of combat. You know to Ocelot Pride? Okay. And card to bottom there. Send in for some damage. I don't think I need to commit Chrome Mox to the board yet. I don't think I need to hold that Swords Up immediately at the cost of Voice of Victory or anything. Ooh, Wasteland is cool. Wow, this turn is actually incredibly complicated. Because I could play Plains, Chrome Mox, Imprint Swords, Voice of Victory. Opponent has to fire off anything they want to do in response. And potentially Bowmaster in response to what they do, if they do something like draw a card. Yeah, I think I'm going to give up Swords and do that. 5 mana available. Kozilek's Command for modes Scry and Draw. And now I have to decide whether or not it is better to Bowmasters or Wasteland. I think it's better to Wasteland. Alright. I think I am Wastelanding my opponent off of Planar Nexus. That's the one that I am taking. Opponent goes to 6. I'm going to cut them off of colored mana. And then I think I will go ahead and pass the turn. Got Bowmasters in a minute. Ah! Well, shit. Voice of Victory goes down, and I imagine some amount of the rest of my board is going with it. So this is going to be 2 of my creatures down. I'm not realistically winning against a resolved 7-drop Planeswalker. I can pretend, but it's not happening. Send it face. Yeah, that's honestly fair. Gain 3 life, draw a card. I will go bam, and bam. Yeah. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. I don't love the feel of this. So I'm going to play Null Rod. It's not gonna hit all of the big stuff that my opponent does. I think my discard matters, I think my Smallpox matters, I think my Bowmasters matters. Voice of Victory does stuff as well, I guess. Might go swords out here for null rods, and then this is an answer to just about everything over there. I am not sure on my cut. Maybe it's still Bowmasters, despite the fact that it does things versus the One Ring, because I'm bringing things that hit the One Ring harder than that. Versus a true colorless deck, Voice of Victory would be going down. But I have to worry about not only Kozilek's Command, but also potentially, like, blue flash creatures as well. So I have seen, like, Shark Typhoons and, what is it, Tishana's Tidebinder, and there's potentially other things as well. Ancient Tomb, Alice on 1, hate that. I have 2 valid 2-drops here. Send in. Hit my opponent for 1. I'm going to go for Ajani immediately. Make that 2/1 creature so it can attack next turn. Where's this tower? Cool. So Cabal Therapy technically can do some stuff here. I can still cast it into Chalice. Just gets countered. I don't think I'm doing that this turn. I think Bowmaster is more important. So send in, Rise X, draw a card. I will flash in a Bowmaster in response. I'm gonna Bowmaster ping your face still. I could Bowmaster ping Ocelot Pride. I think this is fine. I still have ways to get the Planeswalker if I end up wanting it. So then I will Shadowy Backstreet. I do not want that land. So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 damage next turn, which is pretty close to lethal. This is a big moment for my opponent to cast something like the One Ring. It is a stock up instead. Okay, is this lethal if I instead Ajani? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It is 1 more damage if I Ajani. No, because I sacrifice a cat. So, send it. Opponent goes to 2. I will now Cabal Therapy. Target you. Oh no, it got countered. I'll Cabal Therapy. Target you. Oh no, it got countered. A cat still died. Say yes. I think I'm going to plus so that I can ultimate if things go wrong. This is still pretty easily lethal next turn. Huh? Fuck this guy. That is a Bowmaster's down. That is 3 life and drawing a card. Opponent is at 5. I have exactly 5. They need to cast another spell. They do. They take this out. Nullrod sure doesn't stop Ugin. No cats. No way my opponent sacrifices the Chalice on 1 instead of the Chalice on 0. This sucks. Send at face. Opponent is at 3. I will make a cat. I'm going to tap both of these and get both of these going. I think I did not actually stabilize here. Because my opponent is gaining 3 life and then probably exiling most of my permanents. Yep. So, Karn Tutors. Finding the One Ring. And my opponent can play that as a fog that takes out my... not my Planeswalker. Thought my Planeswalker was going there, but maybe it is just irrelevant at this point. I can make my opponent get rid of some artifacts. I could make them get rid of a Planeswalker. Maybe that is worth something, taking out the Karn. Sure. Alright, so life is still terrible. I am just going to yield until end of turn, and then I'll decide whether or not I'm tapping Eumidian Hatchery. Oh shit, we're already at Ugin Ultimate. Well, I'll let my opponent take a cool screenshot. 5 cards entered the exile zone. It's an Ugin. We'll leave it as a mystery. Let's see what else there is out there. It's an Emrakul. Pretty cool. Well, now I'm just curious. Oh, and Disruptive Flute and One Ring and Karn. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah. That'll do. We got our butts kicked there. GG's. For the final round here, I have Eumidian Hatchery Smallpox available very quickly, and I have some other supplemental stuff as well. This is fine. You know, if this Smallpox resolves, it is damn good. I think I am afraid enough of Smallpox being dazed that I am just going to do this. Can't do that off of Eumidian Hatchery, unfortunately. Alright, cool. My spell resolved. Next turn, I have Smallpox around days. We'll see what my opponent has to do. Wasteland is a thing. In that case, let's Cabal Therapy. Cabal Therapy, target you. I'm just going to name Force of Will. Hey, there's the days I played around. I'll pass the turn here. Opponent's hand is really solid, but they can't cast their Thoughtseize right now. Don't mind that. I think I'm into ticking up Eumidian Hatchery again. I'll just take out this land and pass the turn. Because there's some timelines where my opponent ends up just going like land, small Murktide Regent, and I get another card by waiting on this Smallpox. Ponder shuffles very quickly. There's also timelines where I wait on this and then draw another and then draw another Eumidian Hatchery was going to be the remainder of that sentence. Fuck yeah. Let's fucking go. I will absolutely give up my Lotus Petal there. I'll discard Karakas. This is about this Eumidian Hatchery more so than anything else. So now, do I care about any of these cards in my opponent's hand? Because I can Cabal Therapy them. I don't think that I care. I think I just want to attack my opponent. Island comes back down. Tamiyo. Hello, Tamiyo. Goodbye, Tamiyo. Send in. Opponent is at 15. My opponent hitting land and going land Tamiyo Brainstorm would be pretty annoying. I'm going to name Brainstorm here to keep that from happening. Ooh. So, my opponent has some junk in hand, and I just get to keep ticking up Eumidian Hatchery until I draw a black land to do Smallpox. Although it's a little weird. I think I'm just going to permanently answer the Tamiyo here. So I'm going to cast Smallpox. I lose a Smallpox here. I lose one insect token. I lose the other Eumidian Hatchery. Satraxa is in graveyard. I attack for 1. My hope is that my opponent does not immediately top deck the black land. And if they do, I have Karakas. Alright, fantastic. That was a weird game. So I have Fairy Macabre and Douthie Voidwalker here, and then I can think about some amount of removal. Also think about Pegasus Stampede. My cards seem reasonable as a whole. The Smallpox is really weird if my opponent happens to discard a giant creature, like what happened there. But otherwise, just taking out a Tamiyo is a pretty damn big deal. I don't think I'm ever playing March. All my cards seem important. Every single one. I don't know what I am cutting. It might be mana. It might be Lotus Petal. Just assume that the average game here drags on a little bit. I'm going to go down 1 therapy. That is all white mana with 3 black cards in hand. Despite the fact that Karakas is good, I don't think it's that good. Alright, deck. Come on. This is fine. This Chrome Mox is going back. And I think the second Thoughtseize has to go back. I think my game plan is Guide of Souls with Voice of Victory backing it up. One says no to days. I think sometimes I die if I don't cast Thoughtseize. Going to cast Thoughtseize. Yep. Opponent can replay that land for a little more value. That's fine. Going to get a basic land here. Going to 19. And even though this is dazeable, I'm now going to throw down Voice of Victory. And then I can play Guide of Souls pre-combat next turn. Hopefully with whatever else I top deck. Misty's going in. Douthie is fine. That is a reasonable Magic the Gathering card. Oh, fuck yeah. Where am I on lands here? They have 1 basic plains, 1 basic swamp. Then I'm going to save this, and maybe this is a Surveil land in a minute. So my stuff's resolving. There's Guide. There's Guide. I'll go to combat. I'll send in with Voice of Victory. I'll put the Guide of Souls triggers on the bottom, which allows me to mobilize and then get a whole bunch of energy. There is 5. I will say yes to one of these and make this fly. So my opponent eats 5 damage to the face there. Then I sack this. I have the start of something nice. That's, I think, fine. You can hit me back. boy. So I play Guide of Souls. I get 2 energy. I attack. I get 2, 4, 6 energy. So all my shit can just fly. My opponent can block some stuff if Voice of Victory attacks. So if I just attack with these 2, my opponent takes 6. No, because they don't have the bonus energy. I'm just going to assume that I outdamage this. So guide triggers on bottom, make friends. I'm going to say yes, and you fly. And I'm going to say yes, and you fly. And then I am going to say yes, and since I have 2 tokens, one of them is getting through anyway. You fly. So my opponent takes 3, but gets hit for 1 billion, and I will play this out. So reanimate is not on the table as far as life totals are concerned. Tameo is fine. Ponder is fine. I don't know why Tameo is being played out prior to Ponder, though. Because now you don't have that mana to do something like a Fatal Push afterwards. Okay, and we win that one, meaning that we do put up a positive record in the league. Alrighty. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Not bad. There's definitely some mana awkwardness with the black pips of Smallpox and the desire to have white pips for Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride in the same turn. I don't know that I am the biggest fan of that. The black definitely adds some stuff to the deck versus a mono white version. Thoughtseize unquestionably great card in the Magic format. Legacy right now, probably one of the defining cards even. So I'm on board with the Thoughtseize. In theory, there's some really cool things that can happen with Eumidian Hatchery being sacrificed, and then you trigger a Guide of Souls a whole bunch. You get a bunch of life and gain a bunch of energy. We didn't see that happen in practice in this league. I guess ultimately the question is what you gain out of Smallpox better than what you gain if you were just playing 4 more creatures or 4 more disruptive things of some nature? The Eumidian Hatcheries definitely did some stuff. I don't think the life loss from our own stuff mattered all that much. I believe at one point I did 8 damage to myself in a game by the time I had noticed that I had done it. I don't know if you get away with 2 silent clearings and 4 Eumidian Hatcheries and Thoughtseize and Smallpox all at the same time, even with some amount of life gain in the deck. That might be a touch greedy. Overall, I like this. I'm not sure how favored we are versus the artifact decks, though. We have tools for those matchups, but it felt like once they turned the corner on the game on around turn 3, if most of the damage hadn't already been done, it is just game over. And with that, I think I'm going to call it a day there. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any thoughts about adjusting the deck list, throw them down in the comments below. See ya!